All right, good morning. We are ready to go for our leg day. However, we are going to start first with our I dedicates, and then we'll do a verse of the day, and then we'll do our self-massage work. Okay, so that's kind of the order of operations after our self-massage. Today, then we're going to go into our leg day and make sure we work through that, trying to help you build a body that moves well in order to live well. Okay, so first, let's start with our I dedicates, praying for Lori's mom doing dialysis 3 times a week, Ethan with a stage 4 liver and bile duct cancer, my friend's wife with breast cancer, Kira, we continue to pray for, strength over her with her returning to work. We want her to get back to full strength, but her dad Jim is still declining. Any update on Jim?
I'll find out about them.
Okay, so we'll find out more this weekend, and then praying for Diane as well with the loss of her husband. So we'll be praying for them. So remember this, I dedicate will stay overhead throughout the duration of the workout, so you can reference that at any point in time and rededicate those individuals. I like to do those on the break times, so that way we can continue to pray for them during or throughout the duration of our workout. Now, our verse of the day, pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. Proverbs 16:13. All right? We got to stay humble because he'll put us there otherwise. Actually, I just read last night in my Bible reading, I had in Luke, it talked about how to not take a seat at the table or at the ceremony of, what is it called? Like a higher seat, right? Don't take the higher seat because, you'll be ashamed or humbled when the banquet, the person running the banquet comes up and says, no, actually, you're in the wrong seat. You need to move down because someone with more authority came in. But rather sit in the low seat and you will be brought up in front of all people to see that coming to you. So just kind of neat how our heart in the way that we see ourselves makes a big difference in the way that others see us too. So let's go ahead and jump into our SMR. We're going to be doing some carpal tunnel work today and then our leg day.
Carpal tunnel syndrome commonly is caused by forearm muscles that get overly tight and create compression on your carpals. We will start by working through the extensor digitorum, the extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis, and extensor carpi ulnaris. Start with a lacrosse ball on the upper part of the forearm. You'll notice when you make a fist and squeeze the knuckles up, the muscles will tighten in the upper part of the forearm near the elbow. Press down with the lacrosse ball and flex the wrist. Release the pressure on the lacrosse ball, returning the wrist to extension or knuckles up. Repeat this process multiple times over the top side of the forearm in the extensors of the wrist. Do this at a brisk pace. An additional way to work this muscle tissue is by using your own forearm. Locate the flexors of the wrist by squeezing the knuckles up. Lay your arm across your knees and press your elbow into the tissue. Repeat, knuckles up, pressure on, knuckles down, pressure off. Continue this process through the muscle on the top of the forearm. The next group of muscle tissue that creates more pressure on the carpals as well is on the inside of the forearm. These are called the flexor carpi radialis and ulnaris and palmaris longus. Using a technique like the extensors, start with an open palm flexing your fingers towards the elbow as far as you can. After you put pressure down on the muscle tissue, using your opposite elbow, open your hand pointing your fingers to the floor as far as you possibly can. Lift the pressure, flex the wrist, bringing the fingers to the starting position. Continue this process for roughly 30 seconds in multiple spots, working briskly. The next area to focus on is the retinaculum. This is a ligamentous band around the wrist that keeps the tendons close to the bone. Oftentimes, the tendons underneath the retinaculum get adhered and make it very painful within the carpals themselves. Focusing on the retinaculum, glide the thumb up and down the entire band spanning from the mid-wrist all the way into the base of the hand. Work vigorously with firm pressure for 30 seconds in order to break adhesions that lie deep within the carpals. Now it's time to perform a joint mobilization. You can see there are several bones that make up the carpal area of the wrist. We want to simply restore some range of motion to the carpals. Using your opposite hand, create a tight squeeze around the wrist and drag the hand away from the elbow as you hold the wrist. Begin to rotate the wrist in a big circle. Continue mobilizing the wrist for 30 seconds. Now we're going to create a stretch that's going to help the nerves communicate with the wrist. Sitting in a chair, press the shoulder down towards the floor. Rotate the thumb and wrist backwards, then flex the wrist and fingers up to the ceiling. Create a neural glide by looking down and away from that arm. Continue to perform this stretch 30 to 60 seconds. To begin working the muscles that are most affected by de Quervain's, hold your hand with your thumb straight up in the air. Then locate the tendon that is most superficial or on top of the wrist. This tendon will be controlled by a muscle that runs up the arm towards the elbow. I want you to contract the muscle tissue by flexing your wrist up and down while you press into the muscle tissue with your thumb. If this is too difficult to use your thumb, grab a lacrosse ball and place pressure directly onto the forearm using the palm of your hand. Remember to create this contraction 7 to 10 times, pressing straight into the muscle tissue near the elbow. Next, we are going to run pressure from the wrist up the forearm towards the elbow, creating a firm pressure, driving up and stretching the tissue. Again, we can use the lacrosse ball and just roll up the arm, creating a release of that tissue.
These are the tools that you'll need if you're following the basic, intermediate, or advanced types of workouts. And if you don't have any of those tools, just do your best as we go through it, okay? So we're going to start with small arm circles. The point of these circles is to move your shoulders, okay? So the shoulders even should be going up to the ears, forward, down, back, with your arms out to the side. So it's like the circle of your hand stems from your shoulders, okay? Carol, that's okay. That's why we have a warm-up and then 1, 2, 3 rounds. Get moving quicker and quicker as we go. Okay, now big circles. Make sure, again, those shoulders are going through the full range of motion. Okay, internal, external rotations. Again, move your shoulder blades. Pinch back and then roll forward. Pinch your shoulders back and roll forward. Okay, so if you're just swinging your arms and it's just moving at the shoulder joint, that's not everything I want. I want all the way back. Pinch way back. Lift that chest high to the ceiling and then roll forward. Chest high and then roll forward. Getting those legs moving. nice and tall through our leg swings. Okay, and again, if you have spondylolisthesis, spondylitis, narrowing basically of your spinal canal, creating a grinding motion back and forth is going to be rough. So keep that core tight and hold those hips in place if you happen to have some of those problems with the low back. Okay, otherwise, just nice and easy. Get that hip joint moving. Do your best through it. Good stretch through here, so knee straight on that back leg, and then tuck your butt, really drive underneath. That's where we're going to get that hip flexor to stretch. Good tight squeezes. Awesome. Okay, remember as we get set for our first round, that's like a continuation of our warm-ups if you feel like things just are not connected yet. Okay, so you don't have to be moving super fast.
Get ready to squat.
Okay, but go ahead and get set up for those squats. Most important thing on your squat is to be ripping the floor apart. Okay, so driving your feet away from each other.
3, 2, 1, squat.
However, as you drive those feet apart, make sure you're not rolling your big toe up off the floor, right? We want to be pushing that big toe down into the floor and rip the floor apart basically with the insides of your feet, not just the outsides. Okay, so keep those feet nice and flat on the floor.
Halfway.
Rip, rip, rip. Then again, we want to be checking that core and shoulders. Make sure we're tight through the core, shoulders are set in place. It's a lot to just get the brain involved and active through the movement. So
3, 2, 1. Transition to single leg step down.
remember that is the reason we do this.
3, 2, 1. Single leg step down.
Use that first round as a continuation of connecting the brain to the muscle tissue. Right? So don't just create movement, right? Create quality movement. So we're thinking butt, belly, bra strap. Tight, tight, tight. All the way through.
That's halfway.
Good, tight squeeze. Press through.
2, 1. Switch sides. Three, 2, 1. Single leg step down.
Good single leg work. So no matter what you're doing, whether it's a lunge, a single leg sit, or the RDL, like the advanced, right? You're squeezing through your butt. Come up nice and tall. Squeeze tight.
That's halfway.
Firm compression. Doing your best. Tall and tight. Tall
3,
and tight.
2, 1. Transition to good morning.
Awesome. All right, good mornings. This is a horizontal movement of the hips. So remember, if you need to, stand in front of something, like your TV.
3,
Push your butt backwards, hit the TV,
1.
stand up tall.
Good morning.
Right? because we're thinking the hips should be traveling backwards. We're not thinking head or chest reaching to the floor, right? The head and chest should be actually away from the floor as much as you possibly can, right? Use your shoulders to keep your head and chest back.
That's halfway.
Okay, do not droop down. We don't want any more drooping than there is already. Okay, good firm squeezes.
Three, two, one. Transition to monster walk.
Okay, monster walks. So band around the knees. Remember 3/4 sit.
2, 1. Monster walk.
Make sure you keep those hips engaged. You're thinking about pinching that penny between the cheeks. Yes, Carol, it is still impossible, but we're going to think about it anyway. Okay, pinch, pinch, pinch. The whole point is that you're putting pressure into the floor, right? It's not a static or passive movement. We're actively pushing down. Contract those glutes.
3, 2, 1. Transition to VMO left. Three, 2, 1. VMO left.
All right, for those VMOs, remember you're straightening the knee all the way. Pull the toe towards the knee, and then lock out by pushing that heel away. Okay, so really straighten, really straighten. Nice tight squeeze.
That's halfway.
Okay, keep working through it. Nice tight squeeze, good control.
3,
And doing
2,
your best.
1. Transition to VMO right.
Okay, other leg, so just switch to the other side. Again, we're trying to focus on straightening the knee.
3, 2, 1. VMO right.
Okay, so once you think your knee is straight, I want you to squeeze even harder to straighten it more. Tight, okay? It should be a brain process. You're connecting the brain to that muscle tissue to make it work harder. Tight squeeze and then lock
That's
it.
halfway.
Okay, tight squeeze, lock. Get it in place and then squeeze harder. Okay, straight knee, then squeeze harder.
3, 2, 1. Transition to hamstring curl.
Remember to sit tall and pull those heels hard into that foam roller. Make that thing explode.
3, 2, 1. Hamstring.
Good hamstring curl. So bend those knees, pull the heels hard. Drive, 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 drive. All the while, try to sit tall. Core is tight, shoulders down and back.
That's halfway. Three, 2, 1. Long rest.
All right, very, very good work, everyone. So remember, as we continue on through this process, make sure that you're thinking about how to create your movements. So butt, belly, bra strap, right? So penny between the butt cheeks, belly like someone's about to smash into your stomach, and then shoulders down and back out of those ears. Carol, if you have any questions, let me know. Let's continue this process of getting your brain connected to your body.
Three, 2, 1. Get ready to squat. 3, 2, 1. Squat.
Right, before you move, rip the floor apart. Squeeze your butt cheeks. Okay? Then we sit down, and as you stand up, you're pinching that penny. So imagine a penny on the chair behind you. You grab the penny when you sit down and stand up and pinch it flat.
That's halfway.
And if that's not enough for you, think it's in there sideways and you're going to bend it in half. Yeah, Marcia. That's a fun visual, isn't it? Okay, good tight squeeze.
3, 2, 1. Transition to single leg step down.
Okay, so even though we go to a single leg, make sure that knee is not buckling inwards. You keep that knee out over the foot. And you're
3,
thinking, sit down
2,
into a chair and
1.
then stand up.
Single leg
Press
step
through
down.
that leg. Okay, if you're doing RDLs, keep that body nice and flat. You don't want to be lifting your hip up in the air. Okay? Because you're basically just hinging on a single leg. Right? Yeah, drive up tall, tuck your butt cheeks.
That's halfway.
Almost like our pelvic tilt deck. Core should be tight and glutes should be tight. This is the idea of that bridge, right? When we go from bent hip to straight hips in that core on core day, it's the same idea. Core is tight.
3, 2, 1. Switch sides.
Awesome.
Three,
And remember, core
2,
compressed, shoulders down
1.
back.
Single leg step down.
Compress tight. Squeeze up tall.
That's halfway.
Up tall. Press firm. Squeeze tight, tight, tight.
Three, 2, 1. Transition to good morning.
Okay, here we go. Good mornings. Again, hips backwards behind you. Stand up tall.
3, 2, 1. Good morning.
Okay, or you can imagine that band around your waist, pulling your hips behind you, and then stand up and press forward. Drive those hips. Okay, you're thinking leaning those hips back as far as you can towards the wall, and then drive
That's
up tall,
halfway.
pinching your butt cheeks tight together.
Three, 2, 1. Transition to monster walk.
Into the monster walks again. Band at the ankles is more difficult than band at the knees.
3, 2, 1. Monster walk.
Okay. I want you to think you're pressing off that back foot. Okay, push yourself forward, right? And if you're stepping backwards, you're doing the same thing, but you're thinking drive your heel back behind you, then load the weight. Drive your
That's
foot
halfway.
and step through. And the more time you spend on one foot, right, the more difficult it's going to be. And it's when both feet are on the ground that we're not getting a lot of the hip work typically.
3, 2, 1. Transition to VMO left. 3, 2, 1. VMO left.
Good, tight squeeze. Firm compression. Again, knee to toes to the knee, straighten that knee all the way, and then push the heel. Right? You're thinking lengthen that leg as far as you can. Firm compression.
Three, 2, 1. Transition to VMO right. Three, 2, 1. VMO right.
Good. Tight squeeze, okay? Make sure you're getting that leg locked. Knee tight. Compress. Firm squeeze.
That's halfway.
Your best.
Three,
Squeeze tight. Hamstring curls are next.
Transition to hamstring curl.
Okay, as you sit, be tall. If you're on the floor, make sure you're straightening that back, just like core day in the bridge. Right? Core tight,
3,
cheeks
2,
tucked.
1. Hamstring.
And bend those knees. Right? Drive the heels behind you. Drive them in. You're thinking just like a recliner. If you're going to pop that footstool down, make sure you pull through those knees. Okay? Sit tall.
That's halfway.
Hard to put a recliner down if we're leaning backwards. Okay, almost there. Finish nice and strong.
Three, 2, 1. Long rest.
Awesome. Okay, long rest. So again, this is a time where you get to go and enjoy some water, take a little bit of a break. Make sure you begin that process, though, of thinking about each of those movement patterns. Maybe there's one that you really struggle with. If you happen to have any questions, just shoot them down below so that way I can help you out as we go. Remember, the primary important things that we need as far as quality movement is to be able to squeeze the butt cheeks nice and tight, hold and brace your spine by compressing your core, and then keeping those shoulder blades down and back into a nice, tall posture, okay?
2,
So ask questions
1.
as we go.
Get ready to squat.
All right, our squats, remember to rip the floor apart. You want your feet flat on the floor.
3, 2, 1. Squat.
Squeeze nice and tight as you stand up, butt cheeks compressing together like you're pinching a penny flat. Or folding it in half. Either one. Actually, whichever one makes you work hard. That's what you want to be thinking. Okay, tight squeeze. Right? Or if you really want to get after it, maybe just think there's a nice big diamond between your butt cheeks and you're trying to break that thing down. Right? Crushing diamonds.
3, 2,
Good.
1. Transition to single leg step down.
Okay, single leg step downs, RDLs, whichever one, or you can do lunges.
3, 2, 1. Single leg step down.
So if you happen to do lunges, the whole thing with lunging is to keep your shoulders over your hips. Try not to lean way forward, put all the pressure on one leg. Okay? Use the muscle tissue. We're trying to build strength through these movements. The only way to build strength is to challenge it with resistance or repetition, or both. Good tight squeeze.
3, 2, 1. Switch sides.
Right, other leg. Or if you're doing lunges, remember you can just stay stationary. Right?
3,
1 foot forward, 1 foot back.
1. Single leg step down.
Stay nice and tall.
That's halfway.
Good compression through the core. Still hold and brace that spine. Keeping it tight
3,
through the
2,
movement.
1. Transition to good morning.
Good mornings.
Three, 2, 1. Good morning.
Core compressed, shoulders down and back behind you as much as possible. Squeeze tight. Firm, firm, firm.
That's halfway.
Good compression.
3,
Awesome.
2, 1. Transition to monster walk.
Okay, so your monster walks, band around the ankles. Remember to stay tall through the spine. Core compressed, shoulders down and back.
3, 2, 1. Monster walk.
Then you're actively pushing into the floor. You're not passively sitting down. Okay, actively hold yourself up. Okay, or think like your butt is hovering away from the floor. Okay, we're not sitting down towards
That's
the floor.
halfway.
We're actively hovering and pinching the butt cheeks together. Okay, create a nice tension through those glutes.
Three, 2, 1. Transition to VMO left.
VMOs. Straight leg. Remember, once you get your leg straight, lock it harder, then you can bend the knee.
3, 2, 1. VMO left.
Good tight squeeze. Firm core compression. Stay tall all the way up. Firm, firm squeeze.
That's halfway.
Good compression. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze.
3, 2,
Awesome.
1. Transition to VMO right. Three, 2, 1. VMO right.
VMO on the other side. Remember, straight knee, lock nice and tight. Squeeze the toes to the knees, push the heel away. Lock out, just as much as you possibly can.
That's halfway.
Okay, tall and tight.
3, 2, 1. Transition to hamstring curl.
Okay, hamstring curls. Remember, bend those knees, pull those heels nice and hard. Do your absolute best all the way through.
3, 2, 1. hamstring,
Okay, bend those knees, pull hard. Okay, so if we're pulling through those heels, it's almost like you're trying to pull yourself out of the chair you're sitting in. Okay, if you're sitting in the chair. Otherwise, just like Jacob's doing in the advanced
that's
version,
halfway,
bending those knees enough to pull himself down the floor, right? It's that pull down, drag, right? Pull through those heels. Okay, nice and tall, almost there.
3, 2, 1, long rest,
All right, very good. Long rest, so go ahead and get that drink. We'll come back for round 4. Just remember, we want to continue to make this as challenging as possible. So that means connecting your brain even more to the muscle tissue. That means if you're thinking you're squeezing hard enough, you're not. Squeeze harder, okay? That's how we want to make sure we get through this final round, okay? Your best is all I ask for.
3, 2, 1, get ready to squat. 3, 2, 1, squat.
Rip that floor
That's
apart.
halfway.
Compress that core like you're getting whacked in the belly. Shoulder blades down and back. Right? We're always working on quality posture through whatever movement we generate. That's an all-day thing.
3, 2, 1, transition to single leg step down.
Right? Every time we sit down, stand up, push, or pull, we're trying to think, how do I do those things throughout the day, maintaining
3,
core
2,
compression?
1, single leg step down.
Right? When I look in a mirror, do I look tall? Right? What would it take for me to look tall in a mirror? I guess maybe in Carol and Marcia's case, it's a miracle, but for the height that we
That's
have,
halfway.
how do we look tall, right? By keeping those shoulders down and back and the head above the shoulders. Good, Carol, we need it. I love it. You're killing me. You're killing me, Smalls.
3, 2, 1, switch sides.
All right, here we go. Switch to the other side. Again, working hard through the movement. Challenge yourself. Maybe it's depth.
3, 2, 1, single leg step down.
You can also do declines, right? Where maybe there's a chair behind you on these single legs and you just go down slow to the chair until you sit, then use both legs to stand up. Use one leg to sit down. Slow down. Use both legs to stand up. So there's a lot of variations that you can add to these to make
That's
it
halfway.
more challenging, okay? Because challenge is where we get the change. If it seems like a very small amount of challenge today, you're not going to get a whole lot of change, right? The two are equals. Your challenge is going to equal the change. Your change will equal how much challenge you
3,
put into this.
2, 1, transition to good morning.
All right, good morning. It's a good morning. 4 good mornings.
3, 2, 1, good morning.
Okay, again, stay tall. Think belly button continues to move. Belly button. Yeah. Don't want our face to touch. Don't let your face touch. Don't want to touch. Don't want to touch.
That's halfway.
It's a little different, isn't it? It's just a bit different. Hold those shoulders. Pinch them back. Get belly whack. There it is. Tight. Tight squeeze through it.
2, 1. Transition to monster walk.
Awesome. Monster walks. A band at the ankles is more difficult. If your knees happen to be, if you're knock-kneed, you want the band at your knees. Okay?
3, 2, 1. Monster walk.
Because a big part of this is trying to keep the knee almost over the foot or outside the toes. Okay? We want to be pushing those knees outward just a bit, right? Not crazy, like cowboy style. But we do want the knee to stay over the toe. We just don't want it to drop
That's
and
halfway.
cave inward. Okay, stay tall, stay tall. Morning. And recompress that core. Right, squeeze. Shoulders down and back.
3, 2, 1. Transition to VMO left.
Okay, here we go. Seated VMOs. Remember it with the VMOs. Tight knee.
3, 2, 1. VMO left.
Lock that knee and then squeeze it harder. Right? So get the knee straight, then squeeze. Knee straight, squeeze. Nice and tight. Firm compression all the way through.
That's
Staying
halfway.
tall through your spine, shoulders down and back, core compress.
Three, 2, 1. Transition to VMO right.
Okay, VMO other side, straight knee.
3, 2, 1. VMO right.
Good, tight squeeze, compress, tight, tight, tight.
That's halfway.
Firm compression, stay tall, shoulders down back, lock that knee, lock that knee.
3, 2, 1. Transition to hamstring curl.
Last one of the day, stay nice and tall, squeeze through those knees.
3, 2, 1. Hamstring.
Okay, sit tall and forward. Try to keep your back off the chair if you're sitting in a chair. Otherwise, compress that core, pull through those knees. Heels hard, 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 hard.
That's halfway. Three, 2, 1.
Good
Long
work.
rest.
Carpal tunnel syndrome commonly is caused by forearm muscles that get overly tight and create compression on your carpals. We will start by working through the extensor digitorum, the extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis, and extensor carpi ulnaris. Start with a lacrosse ball on the upper part of the forearm. You'll notice when you make a fist and squeeze the knuckles up, the muscles will tighten in the upper part of the forearm near the elbow. Press down with the lacrosse ball and flex the wrist. Release the pressure on the lacrosse ball, returning the wrist to extension or knuckles up. Repeat this process multiple times over the top side of the forearm in the extensors of the wrist. Do this at a brisk pace. An additional way to work this muscle tissue is by using your own forearm. Locate the flexors of the wrist by squeezing the knuckles up. Lay your arm across your knees and press your elbow into the tissue. Repeat, knuckles up, pressure on, knuckles down, pressure off. Continue this process through the muscle on the top of the forearm. The next group of muscle tissue that creates more pressure on the carpals as well is on the inside of the forearm. These are called the flexor carpi radialis and ulnaris and palmaris longus. Using a technique like the extensors, start with an open palm flexing your fingers towards the elbow as far as you can. After you put pressure down on the muscle tissue, using your opposite elbow, open your hand, pointing your fingers to the floor as far as you possibly can. Lift the pressure, flex the wrist, bringing the fingers to the starting position. Continue this process for roughly 30 seconds in multiple spots, working briskly. The next area to focus on is the retinaculum. This is a ligamentous band around the wrist that keeps the tendons close to the bone. Oftentimes, the tendons underneath the retinaculum get adhered and make it very painful within the carpals themselves. Focusing on the retinaculum, glide the thumb up and down the entire band, spanning from the mid-wrist all the way into the base of the hand. Work vigorously with firm pressure for 30 seconds in order to break adhesions that lie deep within the carpals. Now it's time to perform a joint mobilization. You can see there are several bones that make up the carpal area of the wrist. We want to simply restore some range of motion to the carpals. Using your opposite hand, create a tight squeeze around the wrist and drag the hand away from the elbow as you hold the wrist. Begin to rotate the wrist in a big circle. Continue mobilizing the wrist for 30 seconds. Now we're going to create a stretch that's going to help the nerves communicate with the wrist. Sitting in a chair, press the shoulder down towards the floor. Rotate the thumb and wrist backwards, then flex the wrist and fingers up to the ceiling. Create a neural glide by looking down and away from that arm. Continue to perform this stretch 30 to 60 seconds. To begin working the muscles that are most affected by de Quervain's, hold your hand with your thumb straight up in the air. Then locate the tendon that is most superficial or on top of the wrist. This tendon will be controlled by a muscle that runs up the arm towards the elbow. I want you to contract the muscle tissue by flexing your wrist up and down while you press into the muscle tissue with your thumb. If this is too difficult, to use your thumb, grab a lacrosse ball and place pressure directly onto the forearm using the palm of your hand. Remember to create this contraction 7 to 10 times, pressing straight into the muscle tissue near the elbow. Next, we are going to run pressure from the wrist up the forearm towards the elbow, creating a firm pressure, driving up and stretching the tissue. Again, we can use the lacrosse ball and just roll up the arm, creating a release of that tissue.
Be a good time.
Hey, very, very good work, everyone. So appreciate you being here. Remember, if you have not, please do hit the little red subscribe button right down below.
Marilyn, this is
We
almost
are providing
done.
All of these workouts completely free of charge.
And we
so
can
that
get
way
started.
You can get better because our mission at Better Body
And my
is to
favorite
create
rocket
a
ship
pain-free
zooming
world.
through
Best way to do
the
that is to put
sky.
information out.
No.
Others can come and begin
Just reminded me of a kid
the
song.
way that they live. Remember, if you
Yeah, we're
live
just going out to
well,
Chicago
you live well.
for
I
the
hope
weekend.
You have a
That should
fantastic
be
day.